Lisa Schnebly Heidinger is celebrating Arizona with lots of interesting people, so you'll hear wonderful voices with new stories. Grab your favorite drink and settle in. We're celebrating Arizona, going everywhere from A to Z, and we're off.
Welcome back to Celebrating Arizona. Some of you have heard about today's guest, if you've been listening to the show for a while, many times, because I've talked a lot about the Northern Arizona Bureau, Channel 3, Mike Schmidt. And today we have Mike Schmidt here.
In person.
Not, I was going to say live, but it's live now, it won't be live later. So you were part of the biggest thing that's ever happened to me, which was the Bureau. The Bureau changed everything.
And it was a big part of my life, too. I mean, it came along when I didn't know what I wanted to do. I actually turned it down one time. And then I thought about it.
Tell me you didn't know it was me.
I didn't know it was you.
Okay.
But I didn't really want to go to Flagstaff. And then I thought, what's keeping me in Phoenix? Nothing really. So I told our boss, Phil Avidris, that I'll do it. And then you said you'd do it. And we did it together.
Do you remember the first phone call we had? I was already in bed. It was probably 9 o'clock at night.
I do not.
Okay.
Fill me in.
Well,
because you have that memory.
I do have that memory. We talked for almost an hour.
Yeah.
And all anybody had told me about you was, yeah, he likes football and bars. I thought, okay, well, let's see. But we talked about, I don't remember what we talked about, but a lot for an hour.
A lot, yeah, for an hour. It was just learning about each other, I think, more than anything else. Yeah. And thinking, oh my God, what have we got ourselves in for?
Well, and what we got ourselves in for, to me, was I felt like the mail order bride. Because you and I were homesteading, didn't know each other from Adam, but really wanted it to work.
I think that goes back to growing up in the business. Your dad was at Keg Hunt, I remember, right?
Yeah, you do.
And so you grew up around it. My dad was a highway patrolman, but he also had done radio in Tucson.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
We had that connection. And I got into television fresh out of high school when I was 19 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. And they didn't know anything, but they were willing to train me.
And that was Phil.
Well, it was Bill Miller and Phil Avidris at Channel 10. And they brought me in over there for $3.35 an hour.
No, that's starting wage then?
Yeah, in 1982.
Holy
I think it was.
Cats.
Yeah. But, hey, I was working. It got me out of the Mexican restaurant I was flipping tacos in.
What was
and working construction.
I didn't
But
know
I went from making construction money under the table, and then my taxes were taken out at the restaurant, and got into where I am now.
And you've
43 and a half years later.
Been a lot of places between those two. So you're an Arizonan from birth.
Yeah,
but
I was
not the
born in
Valley.
Tucson.
Start with that.
Okay. Yeah, my dad was worked in radio, and then he was also a dispatcher for the Department of Public Safety. And I came along, and he didn't make more money, so he became a patrolman. And it's funny now because I see highway patrolman, and I say, "Hey, what's your badge number?" And they look at me like, "What you talking about?" And I said, "Well, the reason I'm asking is my dad's was 223.
Wow.
Now they're up to 3,000, 4,000, somewhere in there."
Oh my gosh.
And they go, "You're kidding, 223?" I go, "Yep."
Oh.
It was 63 when he became a patrolman. And then when I was 8 years old, he made sergeant and moved up to Phoenix because he had the radio background, and he became the first public information officer
and
for the whole state.
I mean, everybody in the business knew your dad. Yeah. Everybody.
Well, he was hard to forget.
Did that help you, or was it a nuisance, or was it?
It helped.
Good.
It got me in at Channel 10. He was in Bill Miller's, the news director's office, and the editor supervisor came in and said, "We got to hire editors. We got to hire editors. We're down 2 editors." And my dad goes, "Well, my son's taking some industrial television classes, and he doesn't know jack, but he's willing to learn." Now, that was the family cabin that my aunt had that we could use anytime we wanted. I went down to the convenience store, a block away. I pumped in the quarters to call Channel 10 to set up the when should I be there thing. And they said, "Well, as soon as possible." I said, "Well, I can be there tomorrow." And I said, "Gotta go. Vacation's been nice, but I got a job opportunity."
Okay.
And that's where that came from.
Well, I am tickled because I've kept all my desk calendars, including the bureau desk calendars.
Yeah.
And to look at this calendar on this date and see that that was the day that you predicted long before I had any idea that you could possibly be right, that Tom and I were going to end up together.
Oh, yeah.
And you knew him.
I knew him in our Channel 10 days. Not as well. We both came to Channel 3. I think he got there about a month before I did. And then I rented a room from him in 1988. Because I moved in and he left for the Olympics in
Calgary.
And so, and then he came back, and then I took the job in Flagstaff. So we were roommates, but not for much time.
Okay. And then you got there before I did, because when I came to move in, you met me at my new place.
Yeah.
And helped me move in.
Mm-hmm.
And we got that done so fast, we got to go to Poco Diablo for lunch.
Yeah.
Because when you're the bureau, you can do stuff like that.
Yeah. That was fun, because I had always heard about Poco Diablo, but never been there.
Oh, okay.
And so that was the first time I had been there.
I didn't remember
And we got
that.
lunch.
Oh.
Yeah.
One of the many, many thousands of great memories from those times.
I'll tell you what, you remember more than I do. I mean, you mentioned something, I'll say, yeah, I think I remember that. And then it'll come back to me about the different things that we did. But for those 2 years, 2 months, and 11 days that we worked together up at Flagstaff, it was great.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
And I don't remember exactly how the bureau code started, but there was a bureau code.
Yeah, you created the bureau code.
Probably.
I was like, okay, whatever you say, Lisa.
But that meant we had each other's backs no
Yeah.
matter what.
Yeah,
And
we did.
And we did. And my rule to me was, you can't make Mike go do stuff unless you're willing to go.
Yeah.
So if we're on snowy roads or
Yeah.
Canyon 5, God, whatever it was,
Yeah.
we were both going.
Yeah, definitely.
And you saved our behinds when we were doing the Grand Falls in the helicopter with Jerry.
Yeah.
And you saw a cable across it that he didn't see.
Yeah, that was just pure luck. And I go, Jerry, you got the cable? And then he saw it, and he did a dip, and I think he went underneath it, and or over it. I can't remember which. But all I know is his grip on the stick in the helicopter was like super tight. I looked down and he was grabbing that thing hard. But Jerry was one of the best pilots I've ever flown with, and he was in Vietnam, and he did some crazy things there that I heard about later. But he was a great guy, and he was fun to be around.
Yeah, he really was.
He's the one that coined the phrase "slow moving elk."
That's him?
Yeah, we were flying back from Sedona, and went over an area, and he kind of swerved and went down low, and there was a herd of cattle. He goes, "Oh, here we go, some slow-moving elk."
I didn't know that was from him, because then every time you and I saw cattle, you would say that.
Yeah.
And I always kind of missed my dad because he and I had been up north more than anybody else. And then when I left the bureau, I missed you. And I would see the cattle and go, nobody's here to say slow moving elk.
Well, I can say with all honesty, that I worked with two reporters after you left, and none of them came close because they didn't have the heart and the drive to make it what we made it. And that was like, this is all secondary.
Oh.
And they were good reporters, and we did good work together, but it wasn't the same.
Oh.
So that was important to me.
Well, and the live shots. I mean, the when we were doing the live shot for the Grand Canyon Railway and the train, we were right by the tracks by the convention. I mean, you had great live shots.
Well, thank you.
Anywhere.
We just can we see Eldon? If we could see Mount Eldon, we could get a signal. And from your back porch to the railroad tracks to Buffalo Park.
That's right.
Yeah, to my house, I could get a shot out from my house too.
Because then we had the forest behind.
Yeah.
And then the Little America Truck Center was a good place for storms.
Yeah.
Because we could keep the camera dry and still have the storm.
Oh yeah.
And you could see Eldon from there.
Yeah, it was whatever we needed to do to make it happen, and we made it happen.
Absolutely.
And that went away when you went away. It really did. I'll just throw the cable out the window and we'll go from the street.
Oh, interesting.
Or we never, after you left, I don't think I went to the roof of the Monte Vista Hotel. Maybe once, but that was it.
Really? Because that was a great shot.
That was a great shot, yeah.
You'd have to hump the camera up that little tiny staircase and out on the roof, but it was a super shot.
Yeah.
Do you remember the story in the Montevideo?
Which one?
We found out that I-40 apparently, because I think we talked to, I don't remember if sheriff or police, but somebody left pentagrams in blood on the walls and pentagrams and M&Ms on the floor, and we went and talked to law enforcement, and they said that they would talk to other law enforcement because a lot of people would just get on 40 and repeat. So whatever it was, if it was in Flagstaff, it was probably also in Holbrook and Gallup.
Williams,
exactly. Yeah.
Wow. I don't remember that. But
Really?
see, those memories,
Yeah.
you have that mind that remembers everything.
Well,
And you have your book.
and I have my book. So
Yeah.
I'm sure that helps. But I remember that story because it was creepy as.
Yeah.
Do you remember going to Window Rock to talk to? It was Kenji Kiwano, the Japanese photographer who shot all the Code Talkers, and we went up and interviewed one of the Code Talkers, Carl, the artist's father.
Oh, yeah.
You don't remember?
I remember.
Okay, yeah.
I remember the artist's father, and then he was there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that part of it.
Yeah. I had never been to Window Rock till then.
Yeah.
You had.
I had been there once, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, and there was a lot of stuff that I had traveled in because we did the road trips when I was at Channel 10 at Celebrate, Arizona, and we traveled around and I did the editing in the RV.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then when we got to Channel 3, it's like, well, we did 5 days a week. Why don't we do 7 days a week?
Oh, man.
And we did it for Arizona USA, and then Good News Arizona USA was 30 days straight. And I worked all of those but 2 days because I was sick. I got sick.
Man.
Yeah.
Okay, hold that. We're going to take a break and then
Okay.
come back because I want to talk about Colorado City.
Oh, okay.
So, Celebrating Arizona podcast is the official podcast partner of Arizona 250. And part of that is Arizona's Traveling Museum, one way to celebrate our role in the country's big birthday. Arizona's replica of the Liberty Bell is traveling in a specially equipped 18-wheel rig through all the counties. Then the bell will be installed at the Arizona State Capitol. And along with that bell are engaging interactive exhibits for all ages about Arizona's past, present, and future. See it when it comes to your county. So, Colorado City, and then I think it was the same trip that you and I went up to Mountain Meadow to see the Mountain Meadow Massacre site. Does that sound right?
Yeah, it could very well be.
and St.
That was Colorado City was an experience. It really was. It freaked me out. I'll just be honest with you. Yeah, you go through and there's these huge houses, a quarter mile apart, and the huge house was because of the plural wives and all the kids.
Yeah. Well, and we got to have lunch with the Coxes.
Yeah.
Don Cox married Earlene, and then he married Katie, and there were 19 kids. And I remember you shooting video of everybody sitting around at lunch.
Yeah.
And then interviewing one of the daughters, I think.
Yeah.
But it was an interesting, and we did, I think, a couple pieces.
A couple of road trips up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least 2 that I can recall.
And I remember crossing the Virgin River. I don't remember why we did that, but
I don't know. I'll take your word. We crossed the Virgin River.
We did.
Yeah, cool. So.
Do you remember? I know you don't remember the stories like I do, but are there any that you think, yeah, that was fun, that I haven't brought up, but that you anything you liked that we did?
Lake Havasu, that was fun. It was the spring break in Lake Havasu. That was interesting.
Going with the law enforcement out to Copper Canyon.
Yeah, that was, and then having to be very cautious of what video I shot.
Because you could have shot a lot of stuff that couldn't make it to
Exactly.
TV.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'd rather not have it than have to try to edit around it. So.
But yeah, those women were.
But yeah, it was crazy. I'm trying to remember, because there were some big stories that happened after you left that were crazy. Danny Ray Horning escaped from prison, and we chased him around northern Arizona. And but that was after you had left. Thank goodness you had left, because that was great. That was 30 days straight.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Man.
And with us, it was 1,000 miles a week we drove.
We did. Yeah.
From was it the Navajo Family Farms?
Yes. And we
did
tried to do that twice before we finally got there.
Yeah.
And we did Homology before it was a state park.
Yeah.
And anything in Kingman was our beat.
Yeah.
Anything on the reservations was ours. So up to Second Mesa was ours. Prescott was ours.
Yeah.
And we were there for the Gulf War.
Oh yeah, yeah. And you're the guy that worked at the Chevron station.
Yeah, Dave.
I can't remember his name either.
Something.
But his son was in the Gulf War, and I remember being at the VA. I think we were at the VA doing something, and they broke out. And so it was like beat feet back up to flag and start finding stories for the Gulf, going on the Gulf War. And we ran into Dave, and his son was over there. So I think we talked to him.
We did indeed, yeah. And he stayed he was a good source, because
Yeah.
then he directed us to Secret School because they had put stuff up, and so yeah, he was. And I think we did Lowell at least once.
Probably, yeah. Yeah, I thought that was cool.
And Anderson Mesa, I think, once. Going out down there for another telescope at night.
And the one other thing that we were talking about earlier was the murder trial.
The Ricky Bible.
Ricky Bible murder trial. That was crazy. First time DNA was used in convicting
That's
somebody.
right.
Yeah, that was and then finding out what all he did, and how he had already done Sheep's Hill with his cousin, and then took Jennifer Wilson,
very good.
back up there, and that's where he left her body.
And Sheriff Richards thought that Ricky Bible thought that was his daughter when he did it.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was, and then interviewing Ricky Bible after the trial.
Now it was my first death row interview.
Yeah.
Was it yours too?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I just remember looking into his eyes while you were talking to him, and there was nothing looking back. It was just blank. And I thought, this guy did it. Even if he didn't do it, he did it. Just because he was just the craziest and weirdest person I'd ever been around for an interview.
Interesting.
Yeah. And you were there, had your questions, and boom, 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 boom.
And we had some fun stories too.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, when Sedona Beer started, we got to go down there and do that.
And then doing live shots at your front porch, and me losing my pager. If you're going to remember back when there were pagers, and we called it, and it was going off in the snow.
Yeah, and that was the next Monday.
Yeah.
And we went out and we could hear, and you dug down and there it was. Yeah. I'm surprised it survived the storm, but it did.
It did.
And then we got cell phones.
Oh yeah.
Yay! that was a big deal.
I remember we were coming back to town on 180, and we just got doing something, I forget what it was, and then they wanted us to go cover a forest fire. And I was like, really? Because it was a really small fire.
Well, and I know where we were. It was the ice cave story.
Oh, yeah.
We shot the ice caves. And you had that camera. And some of those, that was a tight place to have to get the camera through. God. And so then we called it into the desk. Mm-hmm. And I forgot what we called it into a desk. And I think I said, should we go back to the bureau? Do you remember what you said?
I said something about we saved a forest or
we shot
something.
Shot a package and saved a forest.
Yeah.
What the F else do they want?
What more do they want? Yeah, that was a crazy day.
That was fun.
Yeah.
And you helped me put Christmas lights up in my little apartment. Yeah. And helped me move in, and then helped me move out.
Yeah.
God, if it hadn't been because if I stayed at the bureau, I couldn't have kids, I never would have left.
Right.
Ever. But
you need to be with your husband. I mean, you and Tommy had gotten together, and we won't get into the story about how that all happened.
But I remember meeting him in Winslow, and you and I had lunch at Denny's because he wasn't there yet, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, if this satellite guy doesn't like me, and Mike has to get a rash of, oh, you've got to work with her all the time, ooh, and I was scared because I didn't want you to have to feel like, shoot.
Yeah.
But fortunately,
it all worked out.
It all worked out.
Yeah. And
on February 28th, you called it.
Yeah.
And then you shot our wedding for us. You did the video.
Yeah.
And because he and I dated a year, got married, and we did you and I were the bureau for a whole another year and change before I finally got sick and left.
Yeah, well, it was time.
I guess.
We had done kind of everything there was to do. We'd always come up with something more, but to travel 1,000 miles a week for weeks at a time.
And you remember that I would send quarterly reports and keep track of how many times we were on the air and how many lead stories we had. Mm-hmm. And we did kick some butt. Oh, yeah. We were.
Oh, and that's why we were up there, because Northern Arizona wasn't covered, not very well, and we could get it done and get it on the air. And no other Phoenix station was around, and it was like, we're getting our asses kicked. And luckily our bosses had the foresight to want to cover Northern Arizona.
And do you remember we weren't going to go out the first day? You didn't even have a tripod yet.
No.
And then you heard on the scanner about the Holbrook jail break.
Yeah.
And so we were on the air our first day on the job.
That's the way it was. Just, we hear the scanner, go off, get out there, see what it is. Well, it was like you had gone to Phoenix. I think you were up there still. And we had a 67 vehicle accident on I-40.
Yes, they sent Darren up to do that one with you.
Yeah. And I just got up to go get milk. And I had the scanner on the truck. And then I heard, we got this, we got 6 people trapped underneath a semi that's flipped over on top of a van.
Oh my
And I'm going,
gosh.
shit.
That's all right.
And so I went home, put some shoes on, because I was wearing flip-flops to the grocery store. And then went on out there and just, they let me go wherever I wanted to go. That was one of the beauty parts about living up there and being around, whether it was the city of Flagstaff or the Department of Public Safety or the PD or whatever it was. They knew we were there and we could do whatever we wanted. And they knew I would know the limitations and not go past the lines or whatever. But then they'd get me in places that nobody had any, no media had any right to be in. You know, like that wreck. I climbed through a burned out semi-trailer.
Oh my gosh.
To get into the middle of all these semis that were kind of triangled out.
Oh my
To get to, they were pulling the people out from the van underneath the semi. And I'm right there. It's crazy.
And we were on the scene before they even ran tape at the
Yeah.
crash out of Canyon 5.
Yeah.
Because, again, you heard it on the scanner,
Yeah.
and we shot up there, and then they sent anchors and everything else. But
Yeah. But we had it.
we had
That was what we did. And I've never done anything like that before. Never had that trust from,
that access.
that access.
They knew us, they liked us. And that's one of the reasons it was so much fun to go back with you to Flagstaff. Was it last week? Week before?
2 weeks ago, yeah.
And get to have lunch with who had been Little Jimmy Driscoll, the deputy,
Yeah.
and then became the sheriff.
Sheriff, yeah.
And it was fun.
He's a
to-
great guy.
Yeah. And hear about you having to be helicoptered back because you'd left
Oh, yeah.
the vehicle. Tell me that.
Well, they had closed off I-17 right at the 40 junction. And so I pulled up and I'm doing live shots and everything. And the head of the lieutenant with DPS, Jim Gerard, said, "Hey, we got a pursuit down at not Mormon Lake Lodge, but somewhere in south of Flagstaff." He goes, "You want to go?" So I jumped in his car and we took off down there. When everything got settled down, then he gets a call on the 2A radio saying, "Hey, do you know who owns this News Channel 3 truck? It's in the middle of the road and we're trying to open up the highway." And he goes, "Yeah, actually I do. He's with me." So we're figuring out, well, do we just beat feet back up the hill? So then at that point, the Ranger helicopter was flying overhead. So he called the Ranger and said, "Hey, land over here by I-17 and Stoneman Lake Road," or whatever it was, and pick up this guy. He's got to move his truck. So they land at the cinder yard, and I climb in, and they flew me back up to Flagstaff, and I got in my truck. They landed right on the freeway, right in front of my truck.
That's
I go,
cool.
I should probably move this.
That's cool.
Yeah, that was fun. But that's the way it was because we were a part of the family.
Yeah,
It really was.
that's so true. And then every time my dad came up to visit, there'd be a plane crash. Mm-hmm. And that included the day right before Tom and I got married. And we got to shoot the fall leaves on the peaks. Mm-hmm. And then you and I and Larry, my dad, and Clifton had lunch at Buster's.
Yeah,
Keaton's?
when there was Buster's there, yeah.
And then we dropped them back at the airport. And did you see that accident? How did we catch that?
I think it was on the scanner.
Okay.
I think I heard it on the scanner. And we go, let's go. And that was that.
That was who we were and what we did.
Exactly.
It was amazing.
It was good times. And here it's been 30 some years later, and it's like it's yesterday.
And it doesn't feel like it at all. I always think when I'm with somebody that I've known a while, part of me is that age again.
Yeah.
So right now, part of me is 32 because it was more than half my life. Mm-hmm. Holy moly.
Yeah. And we were looking at pictures earlier. It's like you and your camera. You had that camera everywhere. And thank God for that.
Got some good stuff.
Yeah, he really did. And
Okay.
great memories.
We're going to take a quick break.
Okay.
We're excited that the Arizona Traveling Museum is covering thousands of miles, so all the state's residents will have a chance to see it. The special 18-wheel rig will be free to everybody. It will be in Page April 2nd at the Public Library from 10 to 6. Then it goes to Fredonia, where it will be at the Fire Department on April 4th. And then to Mike's and my old headquarters, the Flagstaff Visitor Center. We'll host the museum April 6th. And it heads to Bullhead City April 9th before going to Lake Havasu April 7th, where Mike and I also got to go. So, not that the Bureau wasn't amazing, but you have done some really good still photography around Arizona. Mm-hmm. What are some of the places you go to do things like that?
Well, since I was 8 years old, we'd always go up to Woods Canyon Lake. My dad would take us up and stay at the Highway Patrol cabins, and we'd go fishing, and we had the spot that we, even when my brother and I got older, we'd still go there. Because he lives in Payson. All right, let's go to the spot. And we'd literally walk in because the gate would be locked. We'd walk in and get on the rock, and we wouldn't leave all day.
Oh. And I didn't know there were highway patrol cabins?
Yeah. A family donated 2 cabins to the Highway Patrol Association. And so that the patrolmen could come up and use them with their families.
Wow.
And one was just a 2-bedroom, a living room with beds in it, fold-out beds, and a bedroom. And, it was really small. And the other one was huge. You could do like 10 people.
Whoa.
In this place. And we stayed in that one time, but, we'd go exploring, and it was fun. And the other place that I've really taken some of my favorite photography is at Tlaquepaque in Sedona.
One of which is right here in our home studio.
Yeah.
Which you gave me when you took that. I love that shot.
Yeah.
And that's been there for a long time.
And Tumacacri Ruins in southern Arizona.
Oh.
That was always my favorites. Went there and shot some really good stuff there.
And the one in my mom's living room, Keatseal?
Keatseal? I did that in high school.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we did a hiking trip to Keatseal Indian Ruins. When I was a junior in high school.
I didn't realize it was that old.
Yeah.
It was a good shot.
Yeah, I shot it on slides and then printed off of the slide.
You had an eye already then.
Well, I started off doing, stills in high school.
Okay.
And that's how I get the photography bug. And then flowed that into television because I rode with the Arizona Republic photographer, and it was great. It was fun, and did our thing. Then, like 2 days later, I rode with the chief photographer at Channel 10, and it wasn't just catching that moment. It was shooting video and audio and movement and all these other elements that really excited me. And then that turned into getting a job at Channel 10 as a videotape editor, back when it was on videotape.
Videotape.
Yeah.
And then you had your own almost a closet in the bureau.
Oh, it was in the closet.
We were in the Monte Vista.
Yeah.
That was our office, right off the lobby. And you could throw the cables out the window and we could go from the street or go to the roof or anywhere else we wanted to go.
Portable gear out to wherever we needed to be.
Yeah.
It was rustic, but yet it was fun.
Oh.
And I only missed 2 live shots, and that's because the transmitter froze.
I didn't remember that.
Out of the 5 years of being up there.
The transmitter froze.
Yeah, it just was too cold.
Dang.
So, yeah. But
and I don't remember, but to me, you're still Jeremiah. Because you were Jeremiah Johnson.
Yeah.
And as far as I'm concerned...
You're the only person on this planet that calls me that.
But you let me keep doing it.
Absolutely. That's that's the name you gave me.
It's part of the Bureau Code.
Yeah, exactly.
I get to call you Jeremiah.
Yeah.
Fun.
So, it's good times.
Well, I love you, and I love the memories, and thank you so much for coming and being on the podcast.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. I mean, this is cool. I mean, you go down memory lane, and then, it's just, and then now with me retiring from Channel 3 in a week and a half.
40 years?
Just under 40 years. They're calling it 40 years. My bosses, when we decided I was going to retire, they're fudging my start date. But corporate is saying 40 years.
That's really
so
nice.
That's what counts.
And that's what you get by being there that long. Is you have some things that other people wouldn't have had.
Yeah. So, but it's been a great ride. Long, strange trip.
Long straight. Oh, that's right. Because the mug today for the episode is the Flintstones mug.
Yeah.
From the Flintstones campground across from Valle, whatever they
Yeah.
called it. And you and I did a story called "Use the Music" because we could use any music.
Right.
Long strange trip. And I have the photograph of us and the white buffalo. I think it was a $10 picture.
Yeah.
And that's it. That was fun. It was all fun.
It was all
fun.
It was all good. It's the period of my career that I remember the most. Just because we were blazing trails. We were just going for it and doing whatever it took to get it done.
We'd really like to hear from you about anything this show led you to think about. Write to us at celebratingaz.com. The wizard behind making a conversation into a podcast is Tom Heidinger. The music comes from Daniel Blatton, and I'm Dana Cooper.